Bill Burr is no stranger to handling disrespectful interviewers. Whether it's awkward questions or rude comments, he knows how to shut them down quickly. From live TV mishaps to heated moments, Bill proves time and time again that he's always one step ahead.
You know,
as far as what?
Well, they thought that maybe you were being disrespectful to the Christian religion.
Who did?
I'm telling you, you need to Google.
Oh, good Lord.
Let's have a look into some of his most memorable takedowns. One starting with Bill Burr hilariously shared his frustration with sports reporters during his appearance on Conan. The conversation started with a light-hearted take on Richard Sherman's fiery post-game rant, but quickly became a rant about halftime interviews. Burr criticized how reporters interrupt coaches running off the field, forcing them to answer obvious questions like, "You're down by 14. What are your thoughts?"
Like, yeah, you know, you're down by 14. What are your thoughts? It's like, what do you think my thoughts?
He mocked the situation, joking that the coaches are probably thinking about losing their jobs or houses instead of giving an honest answer. Burr didn't hold back, calling out reporters for having no football experience and poking fun at their journalism backgrounds.
Did you even play to the high school level?
No, probably not.
You took journalism.
His witty shutdown of reporters meddling where they don't belong made the moment unforgettable. Burr's sharp humor turned a common annoyance into comedy gold, leaving no doubt about how he feels about halftime interviews. Bill Burr didn't stop there. Next, he took on Bill Maher in a hilarious back and forth on the Club Random podcast. Bill Burr brought his signature humor to the Club Random podcast, where he hilariously clashed with Bill Maher. Throughout the chat, Burr took playful jabs at Maher's overly intellectual and smug demeanor, creating a mix of tension and comedy gold. At one point, Burr mocked Maher for flaunting his knowledge of Latin phrases, joking that using such terms in casual conversation was pretentious. When Maher defended himself, Burr doubled down, poking fun at his outfit and sarcastically calling it hilarious. Later, Burr called out Maher's habit of overcomplicating simple ideas with obscure references, humorously pointing out how it didn't make him more intelligent, just disconnected.
He is really well-read. He just said prima paravardi.
The back and forth peaked when Burr accused Maher of trying to seem superior by knowing random facts, joking that it was more about Maher's insecurities than actual intelligence.
I apologize.
You should say, "I'm sorry, I'm not stupid, Bill."
Burr's sharp comments and quick wit left Maher visibly flustered, turning the exchange into an entertaining takedown of pretension. Next up, he had a memorable moment with Sarah Silverman that took an unexpected turn. Bill Burr's exchange with Sarah Silverman during an interview was a tense and awkward moment where his sharp wit stole the spotlight. The conversation turned uncomfortable when Sarah introduced Burr with a seemingly dismissive comment, suggesting they fight like siblings.
I'm not related to my next guest, but we fight like siblings.
Burr wasted no time calling out her tone, pointing out how her intro came across as more critical than warm. He jokingly referred to it as labeling him a douchebag who merely showed up, leaving Silverman fumbling to clarify her intentions.
Fucking hate this guy. He's a douchebag, but he came down here. I mean, that's how I heard it.
As the interview progressed, Burr continued to push back against Sarah's attempts to psychoanalyze him, especially when she brought up his temper and childhood influences. Burr dismissed her observations with biting humor, flipping the conversation in his favor. At one point, his body language and sarcastic comments highlighted his disengagement, emphasizing his frustration with her approach. Despite the tension, Burr's ability to use humor to handle an uncomfortable situation left the audience entertained and showcased his quick thinking. The interaction revealed how Burr's comedic style can shine even in moments of personal conflict. Well, the sparks didn't stop there. Bill Burr found himself facing another uncomfortable situation, this time with a host who wasn't quite prepared for his response. Bill Burr's interview on Good Day New York took an awkward turn when the host questioned his jokes about religion, hinting they might have been disrespectful. Burr didn't hold back, shutting down the line of questioning with his signature humor and sharp wit.
Well, they thought that maybe you were being disrespectful to the Christian religion.
Who did?
The host raised concerns about his material, suggesting it might offend Christians. Burr quickly pushed back, sarcastically asking what exactly was disrespectful while pointing out the hypocrisy of focusing on a couple of jokes instead of the more significant issues tied to the topic.
Exactly.
Don't you think the Catholic Church went a little too far?
When the host tried to justify herself, Burr doubled down, comparing the Catholic Church's actions to relocating a problematic killer whale at SeaWorld after it harmed a trainer. His clever analogy turned the situation into comedy gold while highlighting the question's absurdity. By the end of the moment, Burr had not only defended his material, but also made the host's discomfort part of the punchline. Burr's ability to stay composed while delivering his points with humor showcased why he's one of the best in the business, leaving viewers entertained and proving he's not one to back down in a tough interview. Not only this, Bill Burr's appearance on Southside Steve TV quickly turned into one of the most awkward interviews of his career. From the start, the host's unprofessional approach and strange questions set the tone for an uncomfortable exchange. Burr, however, didn't hold back, calling out the host for his odd behavior and lack of preparation.
Put the mic, warn him that you're going to put the mic in his face without asking him a question. Be prepared for that.
The moment of tension peaked when the host tried to hand Burr the microphone and asked him to perform comedy on the spot. Burr immediately pushed back, sarcastically pointing out how absurd it was to expect stand-up in such a setting. He then mocked the host's outdated cowboy shirt and overpowering cologne, likening him to the first guy beaten up in a Steven Seagal movie.
You creep me out with that big microphone and that country western shirt. He looks like the first guy who gets his ass kicked in a Steven Seagal movie.
When the host asked Burr if he was racist, clearly grasping for direction,
Okay.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not a racist.
Burr turned the question into a comedic moment, highlighting the ridiculousness of the conversation. His quick wit exposed the host's lack of professionalism, leaving viewers laughing at the host rather than with him. By the end of the interview, Burr had turned an uncomfortable situation into comedic gold, maintaining his composure while skillfully shutting down the disrespectful host. In another hilarious but heated debate, Bill Burr hilariously shut down Joe Rogan during a conversation about wearing masks. The moment started when Rogan criticized mask mandates, questioning their necessity and effectiveness.
You want people to walk down the street with a mask on?
Burr, in his usual sharp style, refused to entertain the argument, calling out the absurdity of two non-experts debating medical advice.
I'm not going to sit here with no medical degree.
He pointed out the ridiculousness of sitting with no medical background, trying to argue against recommendations from organizations like the CDC. Rogan attempted to push back, but Burr doubled down, mocking the way some people treat wearing masks as a sign of weakness. He compared the situation to trends like rollerblading. Everyone does it at first, then denies it later.
In the beginning, like when everybody's shutting down, the beginning and people are stockpiling food, I was convinced.
Burr's humor shone as he skewered the idea that wearing a mask is somehow soft.
Wearing a mask became like this, soft thing that you were doing, being
it's for
courteous.
Sarcastically painting a picture of the so-called tough guy with his exposed face and open throat. His quick wit silenced Rogan and turned the entire debate into comedy gold. By the end, Burr's stance was clear. He wasn't interested in unqualified opinions on a serious topic, and he used his humor to make the point ideally. But Burr wasn't done yet. His following exchange took things up a notch when the host tried to steer the conversation into safer, less severe territory. Even Bill Burr made waves during a live morning show interview when he hilariously shut down the host's awkward attempts to control the conversation. The host seemed unprepared, switching topics from global warming to cereal mascots, trying to keep things light and G-rated. Burr, however, wasn't having it.
Telling me you're from Massachusetts, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Massachusetts, and now you're living in LA.
Yes, I am.
So I'm glad that you're here in Texas for the brief time that the weather's going to be 70 degrees.
Oh, it's perfect.
When the host warned him to stay G-rated after he jokingly referred to the Super Bowl as the Oscars for prostitutes, Burr sarcastically apologized, instantly shifting the tone. The host's attempt to steer the interview into a cheesy trivia game about cereal mascots backfired as Burr turned the segment into pure comedy gold. He hilariously called out the absurdity of the questions, making witty remarks about the mascots and their sugary cereal backgrounds. His sharp humor turned every interaction into a joke, leaving the host scrambling to keep up. By the end of the segment, Burr's quick wit had overshadowed entirely the host's attempts to stick to a scripted routine. The comedian effortlessly showcased why he's a master of handling any situation, turning even the most awkward moments into brilliant comedy. Moreover, in another moment, Bill Burr appeared on Your Mum's House podcast and quickly shut down an attempt to psychoanalyze him, turning the awkward exchange into comedy gold. When one host claimed Burr was full of anger because he flogs himself for being vulnerable, Burr wasted no time firing back. He sarcastically dismissed the amateur therapy session, quipping, "Would you stop it? Like you have some psychology degree."
Stop it, like you have some sort of psychology degree.
He hilariously compared their logic to his extensive football watching experience, joking that it wouldn't qualify him to coach a team.
I've watched football for 40 years. I shouldn't be somebody's coach.
Burr's sharp wit completely dismantled the argument, leaving the hosts speechless and laughing. But the show didn't end there. Bill Burr appeared in a show and expressed his intense dislike for celebrities, telling people who to vote for. The moment became tense when Burr shut down the interviewer's questions and made his opinion clear. The interviewer mentioned how celebrities try to influence the voting public, and Burr wasted no time pointing out how ridiculous it is.
A lot of celebrities got involved in this election.
Yeah, that was hilarious to me.
He specifically mocked an actor from the TV show 8 Ways to Talk to Your Mother for thinking his political views would change based on their endorsement. He said, "Why would I listen to you? You're an actor."
Because somebody from 8 Ways to Talk to Your Mother goes, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm kind of liking Bernie Sanders." It's just like, who are you? You're an actor. Why would I listen to you?
He did not have it, suggesting that such celebrity opinions should not sway anyone's vote. Burr went further, calling out the smug attitude some celebrities had when talking down to the flyover states, claiming that it only hurt the candidate.
They're really smug and talk down to flyover states like they're a bunch of morons.
He cleverly pointed out that it was absurd to base voting decisions on who an actor or celebrity supports, especially when they pretend to be warriors or shoguns in movies. Final segment, Bill Burr appeared on The Breakfast Club to talk about his wife. But when host Charlemagne Tha-God interrupted him, he quickly shut him down with his signature style. The interview began with Bill sharing a story about his wife and her unique vibe, saying she reminded him of one person he met before, a guy who had that same strong presence. Charlemagne, eager to dig into the story, jumped in, questioning whether Bill had dated the guy, which led to an awkward moment. Burr, not having any of it, fired back, calling out Charlemagne's need to check on his assumptions about his story. He humorously pointed out how people, especially black folks, often get defensive about things like homophobia. Then, he turned his attention to Charlemagne's look, pointing out his white socks and sandals and joking that he looked like someone who had just come from a steam room.
You got fucking sandals on and white socks. You look like you just came from a steam room.
Bill's quick-witted response put the host in his place, shutting down the disrespectful interruption while keeping the moment funny and light. Burr once again showed how he can turn an awkward situation into comedic gold. What do you think of Bill Burr's comebacks to disrespectful interviewers? Which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.